Welcome back, everyone. This is the second session. We have an hour break after this. Finally got it right. Um, if you've been listening to this speaker's um, talks, you probably noticed that it uses a lot of stories and concepts. It's to dispel the story and the concepts and just to express nothing. So the statement is a suggestion is that there are no characters. Although it keeps on saying this character that, this dream character this whatever, but there are no characters. Picture this. There's this amazing bestseller book. It's like the #1 book of all time. And it has the most brilliant storyline. It has this really raw, really engaging character that is just full of surprises, full of ups and downs, drama, this amazing authenticity of this character that's never been read before. So you're completely engrossed in this book. It's just really, you're kind of like, oh wow, this is just such a really intimate, beautiful book about this character, the character's failures, successes, all this just amazing drama. And it's so engaging that there's forgetfulness, that the reader completely empathizes with the character, even thinks that it's the character. So it keeps on, it's just like this page turner. It's like, oh wow, this is just such an epic, epic, epic book that it forgets that it's a story, that it forgets that it's just a character in the book. And then sometimes, in the story, the book is put down. You're like, oh, there are no characters. There's never been anyone. What the hell? And then you open up the book and it continues. It's written there that there are no characters. What the hell? And it keeps on writing. So the story keeps on going. But there's a break in the book and it's seen that everything that is written in the book is fiction. It's just a character. But there are no characters because the moment that the book is put down just to take a breath or whatever, it's seen that there is just this book of nothing. This gigantic book of nothing that keeps on going and going and going. These stories coming out, Dark Night of the Soul, Liberation, whatever seems to appear in it. But what usually happens, and even if the book is put down, the characters caught up in the imagination of the apparent reader, although there's no reader too. I'm just trying to make a story, right? It keeps on, thinks about the past or whatever. It empathizes with the suffering. It empathizes with whatever is happening in the book, and it's put down. It's a page turner. It goes back again to the book and it keeps on reading, but it doesn't realize that what is happening is just fiction. It's really nothing at all. Or another kind of like another kind of like analogy here is like there's this costume party that one attends, and then it attends as a character. It attends as Emerson. And he goes into this beautiful kind of like costume party, interacting with others, apparently. And then the costume party ends, or Halloween ends, and he keeps on walking around his costume. Forgetting that it's just a costume. When it's actually just all nakedness. It's all nakedness. It's all this rawness. There's no costumes. There's no characters. Or another example is playing a video game. Gets so engrossed in playing the video game that it thinks it is, in a simulated virtual reality. It's moving around. There are other people there. It interacts with others. But there's no one programming this. No one has ever been in it because it's just a game. It's just a player. But before you say who's playing it, nothing is playing it. It's just running by itself. It's just this self-simulated or game playing by itself. Or let's take another one. This just kind of like, it's just all of these characters that keeps on getting really really confusing. It's kind of like being in a movie, completely captured in a movie, thinking that it's the movie, but it's actually the blank screen. So whatever is projected in the movie, the blank screen thinks it's what's being projected. But when the movie ends, it's just a blank screen. Nothing is happening. And then another movie plays and it thinks it's the movie again. So it's this eternally playing movie, or this eternally, infinitely writing novel, you know what I'm saying, that it keeps on writing by itself, but there's no one in it. So there's never been any characters, there's never been any players, there's no simulation, there's no method actor that's completely engaged in what it's happening. It's just a stage of emptiness. It's all empty. Nothing is happening. But the story keeps on going. Usually when people have glimpses, it's like putting down the book. You're like, oh wow. It's really nothing. And he goes back in reading the book. And then the glimpse becomes a part of the story of the book. The character had a glimpse where there was nothing, where there was emptiness. And he completely relaxed. And the character came back the next day. And they got really, really angry and really frustrated. It's still in the book. Even apparent speakers or apparent characters that seemingly has seen that there's no character, the story is still being written. The only difference is that there's a seeing that the words are appearing simultaneously, the stories are appearing simultaneously, and it's coming from nowhere. And the worst part is when the character thinks that it can control the narrative, or the commentary matters. Like for example, in a book, it tries to erase what it doesn't like. But in the book, it's also writing that the character tries to erase whatever is in the book. It's just what's happening. So there's no control, no deletion. It can't delete a paragraph. It's just what's writing. Or the worst thing is sometimes the character keeps on going back to this chapter that's really sad and getting caught up in it. It backpedals into the past. But that's actually just what's happening. There's no past. It's being written simultaneously. Or the other thing that usually happens, apparently, in the character is it's watching a movie and there's this commentary. Have you ever seen a movie that has a commentary from the director and the actor? There's this kind of like hidden feature. And it just keeps on going and going and going. And it thinks it's the movie and the commentary at the same time. And that causes a lot of suffering. Because it wants to change what's appearing on the screen. It wants to change the narrative. It gets really caught up in the commentary, in the storyline, in the character, and it thinks that that character can do something better, that the movie character can pause or rewind or change it or have a complete edit. It wants its own version of the movie. But there's no other version of the movie because there's not even a movie, there's not even a character, it's just what's playing. So it's just playing in this emptiness canvas. And everything that's appearing is just what is. And there's nothing that can be changed about that. It can't be paused, you can't rewind it, you can't fast forward it. It's a non-negotiable movie. It's just what's happening. Sometimes I get caught up. I like reading sometimes. I like reading fiction now. I used to only read non-duality books. I can't stand non-duality books right now. I don't read them anymore. um, it's just what is. It's just what is. So when someone's reading a book and it's so beautiful sometimes. I don't know if you guys like reading novels. I like sometimes watch, when I pick a book, I set aside maybe 4 or 6 hours or however long the book is, and I'll read it from page one to the last page. This is an intense character and likes it in one sitting, right? So it just kind of like reads. I'm like, oh. So the world, the apparent, seeing of whatever is disappears, and it becomes this beautiful storyline. And the book ends, and you're kind of like, you catch a breath. I'm like, oh wow, what was that? Oh, that was so beautiful. Or that was bullshit. What a horrible book. So what's being said is that the film, the book, is already written. Nothing can be done. The character can't transform. It can't change. It can't become a different character. Nothing can be done. Nothing can be changed. It's a setup, but for no one. The identification of the character is what gets caught up. The identification in the player is what gets tangled. It gets really tangled in the storyline or the game, and it thinks it is responsible for it. It thinks it can change it. It put comments on the YouTube, commentary section there saying that, well, there's free choice. As if that character had a choice not to write that or not. It's just a character. And there are no characters. Because the moment that the book is put down, there is this brief, momentary, reasonable split second that scene that, oh wow, it's this. There's no hero's journey. There's no dark night of the soul. There's no enlightenment. These are just storylines in a book of nothing. Sometimes characters think that they have to go through a dark night of the soul to liberate. That's just another story. Or sometimes the character thinks that I need more suffering. I need more. It's a prerequisite for awakening. I need to hit a rock bottom. This is not rock bottom yet. Let's hit another rock bottom. I'm not enlightened yet. That's just another storyline. So it's just another bullshit story in the story of the character that was really not there, because there are no characters. And sometimes the character thinks that the other characters are real, that it engages in the story. Although it's appearing in the same page, sometimes they think that the character is better than. Oh, I wish I was that character that has reached realization that there's no one. Oh, I can't believe these spiritual people that they're still stuck there. They're all the same. They're all in the same page of the book of nothing. There's no difference whatsoever. Everyone is wearing a mask. Everyone's wearing costume in a costume party. But everyone has forgotten that they're wearing a mask or a costume. They're fully engaged in that character or in a play. Everyone is acting, but they're such good method actors that they forgot that it's a play. There are no actors. There are no costumes. It's just all performance. But there are no performers. There's no personal story. There's no epic journey. There's no one that fails. There's no one that succeeds. since there are no characters. There's no one trapped. It's just forgetfulness. They think they have memory. That's all that they think they have. I remember that I have a memory, but I don't remember anything else. You get stuck in this memory loop of knowing, this memory loop of desire, this memory loop of wanting, this memory loop that this is a real character. And if the character is confronted sometimes that they're not even there, the usual reaction from the character is, well, I am here. But that's also written. That's also a story. There's just this beautiful story of nothing that doesn't really have any meaning or purpose. It's entertaining or boring or frustrating, just like any other book. Sometimes it's really shitty. Sometimes it's all shifty. The same stories on the same page. And it's quite fascinating. It's quite wow, right? That this is this amazing storyline that keeps on repeating over and over. And somehow, it never ends. The character still plays, although it sees that there's no characters. It's still a story. But it sees that it's a story. From hero to zero. Sometimes you think that you are the hero of your journey. And then when it's seen that there's no heroes and there's no journey, it's just zero. And like, so best this hero. I wanted to succeed so much. I wanted to realize that it's enlightened and it has superpowers. That it can change things. But it's just really zero. And then once it's seen that this is just a book of nothing, when you try to go back to past chapters, you realize that the pages are blank. None of that happened at all. Like, oh wow, there's just this book that doesn't have any chapters. But for the character that thinks that it's real, it has this imaginary chapters that he keeps on going back to, that is full of drama, that keeps it reinforcing that it's real. Because it has these painful memories that it can't get rid of. It has this painful whatever, separation, death. Or the opposite, it has this glimpses that it keeps on holding on to. It has this wonderful kind of like, but that keeps the story alive. The shifty and the shitty are the same. But somehow, the character thinks that the shifty are real, so it holds on to it, or the shitty is real, so it holds on to it. And it keeps the story propelling. The story really has nowhere to go. Because it appears and disappears. It's kind of like a magic ink, you know? It appears and disappears. It's like the etch sketch, you know? It's just disappearing and then it's gone. Appears and gone. At the same time. So when it's seen that the Book of Nothing, that you think that has many different anthologies, many different chapters, thousands, it's all empty, then all of a sudden there's a relief. You're like, oh wow, this is not really happening. Seemingly there's just this appearance of what's happening that seems to be appearing in the present moment. But when it's seen that there's not even a present moment, whatever appears on the page or the screen is seen as nothing at the same time. The movie that is being watched is seen that it's also a blank screen. It's just an empty screen. It's kind of like someone turned the light halfway. I don't know if you see that in the movie. Kind of ruins the movie, you know what I'm saying? When it's a dark room and then someone turns on, you see the screen, you're like, oh man, someone turned off that light. Or sometimes when you're reading a book and someone has this really loud gardening, you know what I'm saying? This really, and then it disrupts the story. The disruption of the story is the seeing that it's all free. That it's already always this way. Meaning that the story is a blip. It's a bleep. It's an error in eternity. But since it's in eternity, it's also eternity appearing as an error. So therefore, there are no errors. It's just an appearance. Kind of like when you read a book, it's just an appearance. It's not you, because there's no you. But for a momentary, that seems like forever for some apparent characters, it seems like it's permanent. Although it knows it's going to die. You know that the story is going to end. It's just the belief. For a book to be really, really good, for a movie to be really, you believe the characters. You are so engrossed. You're invested in it. When I was a little kid, I was watching E.T. and I thought I was E.T. I wanted to go home. And I think I told my parents, I want to go home. You're home already. Like, to the other planet. Because I was really invested in the character. Or one time I thought I was Superman, you know. I've always thought I was an alien, even as a child. Ta-da! It is actually an alien. It's not from here or there. An alien in the story. And there are no aliens, really, and there's no story. Again, there are no characters. So if you're going to want to talk about characters and stories, please go ahead and raise your hand and we'll chat about it. Or not. Holy, that was a long intro. Sorry about that.
I enjoy this.
Oh, thank you.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
But this is a double story.
Yes.
I want to be quick. Maybe 10 years ago, I wrote this book.
Oh, wow.
Actually, it's me.
Beautiful.
And you cannot read in 6 hours because the people sitting and after 2 days they come up to eat something because they cannot put down.
Yes, yeah.
And
send me a copy, Victoria.
Actually, it's a very great book, you know, the people who never...
I'll buy a copy.
Who never heard about the absolute truth and something like this, they say this is a Bible or absolute truth, but it's in slang or absolutely funny, and everybody crying, laughing,
yes,
just continually without stop.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? Sometimes I put, this is where I sleep next to me, and actually, sometimes I open this book and I start to read, and I laughing like, ha ha.
Double story. Yo, good. A story within a story.
And you know, sometimes the thoughts coming, who is that genius who wrote this book? It is a genius, you know, but it's obvious I didn't write anything, because if someone opened the book anywhere, I can continue this because someone dictate me or somehow it's happening, and come
Yeah.
out, and I don't know how because more than 500
Pages.
pages. So
Wow. I like those books actually.
yeah.
sometimes when it's 5 I'll set aside like a whole evening, like 6 hours, 8 hours, right? Because
But
it's
actually,
long.
this is 2 days book. The people, the husband and wife, always fighting for it, and someone who win run away with this book and close the door of the room.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
2 days, it's just reading and not coming out.
Show me again the book. Show me again the book so I can buy it. Oh, I have to learn a different language then. Um,
Yeah, but this is in Hungarian, so I
okay.
I cannot help you, because I don't
Oh,
speak so good in Russian, so but in English or so
yeah.
something. So and sometimes the people love me because I have always new stories. And the bus driver stopped at my house and picked me up and dropped me out because I'm very entertaining. And oh, it's good to see you because I drank already 5 coffees and I cannot wake up, and you will have always new stories. And you know
Beautiful.
what happened a couple of months ago? I have to think what happened today or yesterday, and I tell them I don't find any stories.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened,
Yeah.
and I don't know even what happening. So sorry for this. So
No
we
worries.
can chat a lot of things about, but no stories anymore.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you
Just
so
kidding.
much. You should get it translated so I can read it.
Yeah. This is 20 million forints, so this is a half of a flat price.
Oh, beautiful.
So everything for you, Emerson,
Oh,
except this. This 20.
oh, thank you, Victoria. Thank you.
I love you.
Oh, thank you. I love you too.
Emerson, did you also have this longing for home, even you knew you have a home when you were a kid? That's somehow it came, you also had this longing.
in
So
in the
when you,
story, yeah, in the story, there's always this longing. There's always this
Mhm.
something is missing,
Yeah,
because there's this belief in separation, right? So when
right.
there's this belief in separation, it thinks it's separate, even when it's
Mhm.
home.
Yeah,
Even when it's with its parents or something, there's something lacking, and um,
right.
and it's the belief in the story of separation. So it gets
Mhm.
engaged in this idea that I am not home, that I need to be home, and it doesn't help in the story that there's story about liberation, heaven, nirvana.
Mhm.
So it always distracts the apparent character that this is already home, that
Yeah.
this is already this. You know, you have movies about, you know, there's always movies about coming home, like E.T., for example. I don't know if you remember
Mhm.
that movie.
Yeah.
It's about this feeling of whatever. And there's so many different movies that are like that too. Or the movie about the journey, right? You know,
Mhm.
of coming to age, um, going through adversities, going through suffering, and then the hero's journey is always repeated on the screen. It appears in Star Wars, you know, so many Lion King, so many
Yeah.
different movies that are like that, right? So there's always the suggestion that this is not home. Oops, just a second here. I'm
Oops.
just going to mute. Uh,
Yeah, I remember it started very early as a very little kid already. That, yeah,
yeah, and the revelation of the story is that there is no you as a kid.
right.
There's not even a history. So all of these ideas about being a kid is just another story coming from an
Mhm.
empty page, empty book of nothing. And it's just
Yes.
coming up because there's only one page. There's no other pages. So in this
Even the
one
memory.
page, the
Mhm.
memory appears in this one page.
Yeah.
And then you think that you're kind of like going through many different, like, you think that it's 600 pages book of Victoria, but there's actually no other page. It's just this singular page that
Mhm.
everything seems to be appearing, all of these words appearing. But the moment that they appear, they disappear already,
Mhm.
right? And then it's just this apparent, and there's not even a present moment. So all of this is just appearing and disappearing, kind of like a magic ink.
Mhm.
You know, the moment that it's read, it's gone.
Like with fireworks and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Mhm.
gone already. It's really
Mhm.
empty pages because there's nothing really appearing in the past. And you can't
Mhm.
even skip forward because it's also empty pages. So the imagination and the assumption of the apparent character thinks that there's other pages, but really it's no, it's just this black. Actually, there's no book. Just keeps on going further and further. Again, all doors lead to nothing.
Mhm.
It's all nothing really. So in this idea of you know, just trying to express the narrative that there's no narrative, a true narrative. It's just trying to express that there's no story, true story. It's trying to express that there's no concepts, true concepts. Analogies when there's nothing to be, you know, it's just all
Mhm.
nothing. So yeah, so all of these stories of longing of the history of the past didn't really happen, but it's a nice story as well, right? You know, a
Yeah.
story about a child longing for home, longing for this, thinks it's Superman or ET, but it's really nothing because there's no Superman or ET, and there's really no one. So it's just all these characters that are not characters. It's really empty, but it can only explain in characterization in a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With your introduction, I felt like in a exhibition of modern art. I don't understand anything, but it's so fascinating and
Ah.
wow, and everything open. Yeah, it's like I'm dissolving, or yeah, I never. There's no one to dissolve, but very spacious. I can explain it, but that's it. I'm sure.
Someone just in the break, someone just messaged me that they said that I cooked the whole meal and I didn't know how I didn't burn my house because there's no one cooking while listening to this, just cooking, you know, and although none of that happened as well. Yeah. Thank you, Petra. Hello, Mike. Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Um, so, does awareness need time to
What's
exist?
awareness? There's no awareness. Who's aware?
Like, does the feeling of awareness arise with time?
There's
Do they arise at the same time?
there's no one really that's aware. So what's just
Okay.
being expressed here is that there's just this, and there's no time. So nothing arises in time because there's no time. This is all just simultaneously, all at once, happening, and it's nothing appearing as whatever. So it's appearing as someone, in a car,
Hmm.
and that's just it. That's it. Awareness is just imagination again, because the one that's aware is not there really. Just trying
So
to simplify it. It's
yeah.
simplification of everything.
So when that message was heard there, in the story, when there was someone still there, was there like a denial, like a wanting to slam the laptop when they said there's no time?
When
You
when
know
he
what
was
I mean?
seeking, yeah, of
Yeah.
course, yeah,
Okay. Like there's no space for that here. Like it's
yeah,
like me. It's like I just went into the gym and did something. There's no space for that. Like it's just like I just want to So
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
it's quite fascinating, right? Kind of like what I was saying.
yeah,
It's like the impossible happening. So this is nothing
yeah,
appearing as colors, as a blue shirt, as a car, as apparently someone listening, subject object.
yeah.
Since there's no time, collapse all of that, and it's just this, and it's paradise, and it's infinity, eternity. Because the idea of time or awareness or consciousness or whatever is just another imagination, isn't it? It's just another word in the book of nothing. It doesn't really
So
happen. So there's no one
so is it?
conscious, there's no
Yeah.
one aware, there's just this.
So is it just an overlay, the experience of time, or it's not actually there at all?
It's not actually there at all. It's
Oh
just,
wow,
it's, yeah. I know.
that sucks. Okay.
Yeah. It's it's a really
It's not.
horrible news,
Damn.
this is not love and light spirituality. This is not
No.
even spirituality at all.
Darn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
this. It's just really simple. It's just really simple when the collapse of time is seen, when there is
Yeah.
so when there's no time, then there's no you because you don't have a history.
And there's no timelessness either.
It's all timelessness. It's all
Okay.
timelessness, and it can't be imagined because the one it's
Yeah.
imagining seems to appear in time. But since time is not possible, what's appearing in time is also not possible. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mike. Okay.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. This is not an easy, communication. Otherwise, I would have like thousands of people listening right now to this. It's often rejected. It's often reviled. It's often criticized, even in the spiritual circles, even in some non-duality circles, or even some uncompromising circles. When what's being expressed is just so jugular that it doesn't leave room for anything at all. When it tells a story and it yanks the story out completely, it's kind of like stabbing with a knife and then twisting it. It's a brutal communication, basically exposing that there's never been anything, there's never been anyone. And at the same time, when it's heard by no one, when it's resonated, it could be the most liberating thing. It could be like, it's not really serious. Why have I been so serious? When there's nothing happening, when there's just this liberation that's appearing as whatever. Or that there's no liberation at all because everything is already what it is. It doesn't need to be liberated because it's unconditionally free already. Everything is already as it is. As is. But as if it's real, as if it's separate, as if it is not complete. But it's as it is. even the as if is as it is. So whatever comes up is as it is. It can't be denied. It's undeniable. It's inescapable. It's always this. It's always a blank page. It's always an empty canvas. And whatever arises with the empty canvas or the blank page or whatever is written is also it. Because the only thing that's permanent is the empty canvas, the emptiness, the blank page, nothing. So everything that arises in it, nothing being everything, the words, the feelings, whatever it is, the movie, is it. Because it's appearing together. It's appearing simultaneously. It's as it is. Perfection.
Yeah, when you said there's no time, there's almost a feeling of the bottom just falling out of everything. Like it's just everything just sort of,
Yeah.
weird.
It's
Really
actually this is just a story as well. This has already been proven in the science circles that there's no time, right? Time is a very persistent illusion, but it's not real. There's no time. So this is just timelessness appearing. It's not even an illusion of time because there's no time.
But how can you say there's no illusion of time? I don't
It's just a scene here that it's really nothing. There's
Yeah.
this assumption that there's time, so that's the illusion, is the assumption, right? Whatever kind of like the memory, your childhood, all of that kind of stuff, your appointment coming up or whatever, those are all created. That's all appearing in nothingness. So there's this nothingness, there's this sea of emptiness, and the little kind of like droplets that arise momentarily that it separates from the apparent sea of nothingness is the illusion. And it always comes back to nothingness. It's always nothing. So everything that you think about, everything that you talk about, everything that comes out of you is emptiness. It's already it. Every single thought, every single feeling, every single taste, every single feeling, every single emotion is always empty. It's not separate. So what's being looked for is always it. So people come to these talks, to these meetings, to figure out something when it's already figured out. It's already complete. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to understand. Because everything that is appearing, everything that is apparently appearing, is already it. So what seems to be longed for or sought for seems to be hidden because it appears in everything. So kind of like in a giant movie screen, what people are looking for is the blank canvas behind it. But since they're watching the movie, they seem to not see that all the movie is appearing in the blank canvas underneath it, the blank screen. That's what they're looking for, is nothing. So they miss it because they think that whatever is appearing is not it. But since it's appearing along with the empty canvas or the blank screen, it's also it. And again, yeah, there's no time.
But it's so hard when it's a splatter movie and there's still a belief in the character in the movie. So
It's so hard when it's
being
It's so hard
when it's
again.
maybe it's a splatter movie and the character feels like it's just cut into pieces.
Yeah, because
No
because
chance to see the empty canvas.
because there's the character, the character is also the empty canvas. So the suffering is also the empty canvas. It can't be seen, but it's also the empty canvas. So the character, the suffering, all of that thing is also emptiness. So everything that appears on whatever appears is the empty canvas. So you don't need to look for the empty canvas because everything is at the empty canvas. It's not hidden because it appears in everything. The empty canvas for everything to appear, including the character that's completely engaged or suffering, is also the empty canvas. It's also the screen. There's no separation whatsoever. That's why it's always whole.
It's like looking for the light and the rain, which makes the rainbow. If you're the rainbow, then it's everything. It's the light and I don't know. And I explained it like that with the rainbow.
It's like looking for the light with a flashlight in broad daylight. Where's the light? I have this really bright flashlight and you're in daylight. Everything is the light.
I can't see it.
It's in everything. Caroline. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
You want to take my question, are you?
Oh, I didn't see your question. Sorry. I'll
So
read
you
it.
make me speak.
Yeah,
It's
so
okay.
go ahead. Good. Sorry, I
No,
didn't see
no,
you.
no, go.
I
You,
was just
yeah,
staring at nothingness there for a moment. I'm a bit confused between these two ideas. There's just this and there's really no thing or nothing. This is nothing.
okay.
Whatever is appearing is nothing. Everything that's been seen seems to be everything, but it's really nothing. So everything and nothing appearing together is this. So this is nothing.
Okay.
This is a blank canvas, and everything that's appearing in it, Caroline and Emerson, is really nothing.
Mm.
So it's appearing in this giant blank screen, this empty canvas, and both characters are appearing on it. So there's no separation between the two characters because it's appearing simultaneously with nothing. So anything that arises, including suffering, or it's appearing on the same screen. It's not separate. So it's also appearing on the empty canvas. So seemingly the issue sometimes is that the character is looking for that emptiness or the empty canvas, but neglects the fact that it is it.
Yeah.
It's also it. Oh, hi, kitty cat. Oh, hello.
Hello. I say hello.
Hello. So that is also an empty canvas, that cat there. Everything is
Yeah.
the empty canvas. Everything is the emptiness. So when I say it's everything is empty, 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 everything that appears, feelings, thoughts, emotion, is appearing on the empty canvas or the emptiness or the blank screen that everyone thinks to be looking for, everything that it's missing, but it's not, because it always appears with whatever is what's happening.
Yeah, but that means that things happen anyway.
Yeah, things are happening anyway. Yeah.
Things are happening, but nothing happened really. So
Yeah,
I mean,
it's kind of like in a movie, nothing's really happening. It's just a projection on the empty canvas. So it's really not happening. It's just an illusion. So it's like
okay.
in a dream, for example, everything seems to happen feeling completely real, right? But it's not
Yeah.
even happening at all.
Mm.
The moment that you wake up from the dream, nothing happened. But this
Well,
is still dreaming. This is still dreaming right now. So
there
nothing's
isn't,
happening.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry, go
there
ahead.
isn't, sorry, excuse me. There isn't really any difference between dreaming at night and living their life, basically. There is no difference at all.
There's no difference at all. Yeah, because there's no time. So there's really no nighttime and there's no daytime. There's ideas or imagination or assumption of time or something different, because it's an illusion that's moving.
Yeah,
It's the
because
the illusion of movement in complete stillness. So the illusion of movement includes time, movement, talking, others, but it's just really a projection on an empty screen. So since the projection is not real, the only thing that's real is the empty screen, and that's what's being sought for. That emptiness, that peacefulness. And it's always, always there. It never leaves. It's not possible for an illusion without the emptiness.
can the illusion stop?
No, it doesn't stop. It just appears. But once it's seen that the illusion is appearing at simultaneously with emptiness, then the illusion, then it's seen that it's an illusion. You're like, oh, it's not really just this. It's also this.
Okay, but
It's not separate from eternity. It's also infinite, and that's what I've been seeking for. That's my home. Is an infinity.
okay,
So
but
it's
the
always
movie,
home. Yeah.
the movie will not stop,
It
basically.
doesn't stop. Yeah, it doesn't stop.
There's no chance at all to get rid of the movie.
No, you're negotiating now.
Yeah, I want to get rid of the movie. I don't like it.
See,
I don't
that's
like it at all. So.
that's the suffering, is getting rid of the movie, right? So when
Yeah.
the movie is just enjoyed as what it is, knowing that it doesn't really have really any effect at all, it's just it's happening, then it's kind of like, you know what? There's just a resignation to it, right? It's kind of like it's just flowing. You're not trying to climb the movie screen and say, I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. Let's pause this movie. You're yelling at the projector room saying, stop this movie. It can't happen, because what you think is outside of the movie is also in the movie. It's all a movie. And it's all appearing simultaneously with the emptiness, with the blank screen.
This means that Caroline is an illusion, but a persistent one, which will not stop until
Until
it dies.
until it does, right? So the persistence or the neurosis that's appearing is appearing because it is thinking that it can control the movie. It's also emptiness. It's also appearing in the same blank screen, right?
Yeah.
But once it sees that, oh, so the persistence is also the blank screen. So the persistence drops, right? Because it sees itself as empty. Oh my goodness. So there's no need to struggle this then, right? There's no need to stop. I can't do anything anyway. I don't have any choice in doing this. I don't even have any power in doing this because I'm not even here. Then it becomes just this wonderful flow. It becomes stunning. I know you don't like the beautiful, all that kind of stuff. It's just this whatever that is happening. Although it's bullshit, it's still stunning. It's just this kind of like everything that arises is always has a blank screen. It's always emptiness. It's always home.
comes out from nothing,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
and it goes back to nothing.
It
But
doesn't even come out or go back. It is nothing.
it is nothing, yeah.
It is nothing. Yeah. It all doors lead to nothing.
It
When
doesn't feel like it, you know.
yeah, it even now feel like it is also blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So everything
okay.
that appears is blank.
Mm,
Sometimes, I've talked to some apparent individuals that there was just really a lot of frustration, and
mm,
then when the apparent frustration dropped, there was even more um, sadness that happened because it's grieving everything that it believed because it was holding so hard
yeah.
to what
Mm,
it thinks is real,
mm,
and when it loses it, because it doesn't really want to lose it.
yeah. It,
That's why they're suffering because it wants to hold on to those pictures, to those visuals on the
mm,
screen.
yeah.
Although it's frustrated with it, it also wants it.
Mm,
So what it
yeah.
thinks it wants, it doesn't really want because it's the absence of those. It's the absence of the reality or the belief in whatever it believes. So it can be really, really frustrating.
But what do you call it? Because there is no one, so
Yeah, it's
it's
just
not a
it.
person who wants something.
Yeah, it's just it. It's just it. It's just it. I don't even. There's no characters. It's just
Mm,
this energetic whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
unknowable. It's unknowable. So it plays by itself by pretending it's not itself.
Mm,
It appears as whatever it is.
right.
Yeah.
Very nice description. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
I don't know what I can do with that, but anyway, I love hearing that.
Yes. Thank you,
Thanks,
Caroline.
Emerson.
Thank you. Lindy, Lindy, it's like being trapped in a movie or video game without being watched or played by no one. Yes, yeah. If you want to expand on that one, Lindy, that's awesome. Or or not. Lindy's just lying down there enjoying the show. What a trip is it, huh? What a trip is it? It's just all these characters and there's really no characters. Oh, hi, Uzma. I can't hear you. Hi.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay,
Yes, I
sorry
can.
about that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Um, so when the apparent self falls away in the story,
Mm-hmm.
story, um, can there still be like a movement to, like, I don't know, improve apparent relationships, become like a more patient person for your partner, or be a better coworker, or whatever? Do those kind of like urges to improve arise
There's
still, or
there's no more urges to improve because there's no one here that can change
right?
anything. But seemingly because there's no more neurosis, and this is just a story from this character. For example, it has a better relationship with the parents, right? Because it doesn't, it just sees them as emptiness. It just sees them as this, and there's no more how do you say it, history. So everything is almost kind of like fresh and new when talking. Are you there, Uzma? Can you
Sorry,
guys hear me?
my internet is
Oh, okay,
okay. I
okay,
can
okay.
hear you now.
Okay, okay. I don't know what
Sorry,
was
can
the
you say
last
that
thing.
again?
Okay, what was the last time that you heard? The last thing that you heard?
I heard you talking about your parents, like your
Yes. Yeah, so since there's nothing behind it, so everything is seen as empty, everything is seen as just whole, there's no separation anymore. Um, there's no more history. So it's almost everything is a fresh start, right? It's a fresh start for this character. I used to, when and this is just a story, I used to not be able to stand more than 3 or 4 days with my family. And I usually kind of like would visit and then book like 2 weeks in a hotel and not tell my family that I was still in town. But now, you know what I'm saying? When during this is prior to COVID, when my mom is had cancer, has 4 brain surgery, so she's not really mobile, and she really needs help. So when this character was asked to help out, it said surprisingly, sure, yes. Yeah, it and it discovers the parents, freshly new every day, right? I'm like, oh, this is really funny. It's kind of like seeing through a different lens. Although nothing really
right.
changes, there are some, really, subtle things like that happens in the apparent character, and it's actually the character is very, it's unfiltered now. So if it's a kind character, it will be kinder. If it's an asshole, it'll be more of an asshole. I don't know. It's just what's happening. There's no such thing anyway. But the character is just running by itself. There's no neurosis, not trying to control things. Um,
Right.
if it doesn't like something, it will say it.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a doormat
So if
anymore.
it's
It's just different. It's just a different story for every different characters. And that's just a story, everything that I told you. But go ahead, Uzma.
yeah, of course. Obviously, anytime anyone opens their mouth and words come out, it's a story, right?
Yes.
Um, what about like um, taking care of your health, like going to the gym even if you don't want to because you want to maintain your physique or something?
There's no more neurosis with that one. If the character is a health nut or whatever, or like exercising, it will exercise. It's not going to say that nothing's happening. I still go on my Peloton bike, almost daily. It likes it. You know what I'm saying? It likes walking. It likes running. All that kind of stuff. It likes playing, those really sweaty virtual games. That like the Zord thing kind of thing. It still
Yeah,
does those things, but no one is doing it. It's just running automatically, right? There's no since
yeah,
there's no others, it's not trying to look good for others. It's
right.
just naturally good looking.
Right. Um, so like if a character is an asshole and everyone's trying to tell them that they're an asshole and that they need to change, change can happen or not, but the character is not struggling necessarily to
That's right.
become not an asshole.
That's right. Or it could
Okay.
or it could be a doormat. It could be a doormat. Character that doesn't really say anything, and then when the apparent unhappening that doesn't happen to anyone, then the character is no longer a doormat. Because it's not. It doesn't have this whatever. But again, that seems like it's something that changed. Nothing really changes, but there's just this easiness of the character. I'm just speaking on this characters. I don't know any other characters, but because there's none. But based from
Right.
people that have I usually do one-on-ones, and they usually can like call me back maybe after a month or two after the apparent falling away. Although nothing happens, nothing is on offer. They usually say that, oh wow, this character's a little bit more oh, just a second. I'm just gonna mute. The character is just a little bit more free to be as it is, right? So sometimes they'll say that, oh, I can't believe how funny this character is now, right? It finds
Yeah.
the usually the character is very very serious. So when the seriousness is the neurosis and trying to be serious all the time, then it laughs a little bit. The best description that I got is when someone told me like I feel like a child again, right? Easy to
Yeah.
laugh, easy to cry. Maybe has tantrums, but the tantrums doesn't last. If you see a child have a tantrum, it's just like a couple of minutes. when an adult has a mood, it lasts for days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
just whatever's happening is happening. Again, there are no
Yeah.
characters. So there's really no difference. This is just a roundabout way of saying there's just an easiness. And there's no more, it's not engaged anymore as a character. The character is off leash.
Okay.
Sometimes,
Off leash.
like,
I like that.
yeah, the character is off leash, so it's free to smell the roses as long as it wants. Kind of like with going to San Miguel, my San Miguel, you know what I'm saying, that passed away. I'll bring pictures the next meeting. Sorry, I forgot to do it this time. When during his, when there was a dropping away, he was quite surprised that that I just made, would take him, on leash. I used to kind of like have him on leash all the time, but now he was just off leash maybe 80% of the time, and he was quite happy with that because there's just freedom. There's just freedom, right? It doesn't want to control anymore. So that seems to be what the character is. It's off leash. It's not being controlled anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
All right,
Emerson.
Usma. Thank you. But there are no characters. Let's go back to that one again.
Once I told to someone, I don't find a character. And he said, but here is the character. And I asked, what's that? That red hair or what is this character then? Because I don't find that,
Yeah, yeah.
You behave sometimes in this way, sometimes that way. So anyone can tell you are stubborn or something, because today stubborn, 5 minutes later not stubborn. So where is the character then?
Yeah, there's never been
It,
any character. It's just a pigment of the imagination, right? So it's not really real.
okay. So what
It's a
they mean, this is the red hair girl or something, this is means, yeah, the character or something like this.
there's not even a red hair girl there.
Yeah, because
It's nothing.
tomorrow can be black. So okay,
All right.
got it.
Caroline. Hello.
Yes, sorry for the mic before.
No worries.
What did I want to say? Yeah, well, it's a bit stupid what I'm going to say, but anyway, say it anyway.
Nothing
I've
is
got no
ever
choice.
stupid. No.
Repeating, keeping to repeat that there is no one, there is no character, doesn't help at all, in fact, because
Yeah.
I can say to myself, well, anyway, you don't exist, so it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
it's not what's felt, really. So
Yeah. Since
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I totally. Since there's this movie that's a felt sense, I can hold
Yeah.
a glass. I can drink.
Mm.
If somebody pinches me, I'll say ouch, right? So that's the felt sense. That's the movie. That's the everything that's playing simultaneously with nothing. But when it's seen that even the pinching, all that kind of stuff, this is temporary, that the only thing that's permanent is nothing, then
Yeah.
whatever that this felt sense of whatever is not seen as something really serious.
Yeah.
It's like a lucidity in the dream, right? You're kind of like, okay, this is happening, but it's also not happening at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's also a very felt sense of realness. Like if I talk, if I if somebody yells at me, then the body would be kind of like, why are you yelling at me? It's not like no one's yelling at me, there's no one here. It's a really it's kind of like when you are dreaming at night, everything that in that dream feels completely real. You get hurt.
Yeah.
I woke up it's sweats. This is a really funny dream because I woke up sweating because in the dream I was riding a bike.
Okay.
And then I was drenched in sweat. I was like riding a bike. And it's this felt sense of realness, kind of like in a dream. But the moment that you wake up, although there's no one to wake up, you're like, oh, I was not really riding a bike. It was really nothing. So
Mm.
everything that's happening is really nothing. And since there's no dreamer, this is a dream. So no one was dreaming at night and no one's awake in the morning. It's all a
Yeah,
dream.
wow.
So no one ever went to bed and no one ever goes to sleep. Since there's no time, this
Mm.
is all that there is. And this is a dream.
Yeah, I can.
Cat's meow.
I mean, I'm very happy to believe that, but I know that it's not a question of believing or not.
It's
You know
not a
what I
question.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And
You know what?
that creates a frustration because
Yeah,
somehow there is this, I don't know, knowledge. It's not a knowledge, but you know, something that sense that yes, but exactly that, but it doesn't match with what's lived.
yeah, and your frustration, believe me when I say this, that when I was seeking, it was almost double that. I would be walking
You don't
around the
know
room.
that. You
That's
don't
true.
know that.
I don't know that. This is just a story. See how story
Yeah.
goes? So
Yeah.
there's the belief. It's just a story that's a narrative that's
Mm.
coming in. But then this apparent story that it never happened.
Mm.
There was this frustration of um seeking for watching 8 hours a day, kind of like a full-time job,
Yeah.
and then at night reading, right? So it
Mm.
was like 12, 14 hours of seeking,
Yeah.
and it was just relentlessness. Yes,
Mm.
I don't know that because there's no one here and there's no one there, but it's a story. So all
Yeah.
of that in that story, there was just this intensity of the seeking,
Mm.
and it would scream and yell at the watching all of these videos, right? And
Yeah.
normally this
Mm.
character is not really a yelly type, but the frustration got really, really intense
Mm.
because it's almost like a do or die situation.
Yeah.
It was so intense that if I didn't get this, I didn't want to
Mm.
exist at all. That's how intense it
Right.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So I think a few hours after the seeing this, I think I laughed. No, no. So the second day and the third day, I laughed and laughed and laughed because there was this kind of like, what the hell? This character
Mm.
got really almost just agitated all the time, right? It was just this
Yeah.
agitation of
Mm.
trying to figure out something that's impossible to figure out.
Yeah. Mm.
Although it knows that it was impossible, it kept on trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it can't help it anyway.
It can't help it, yeah. So but when it's seen that the one that can't help it is also the impossible, the one that's being sought
Mm.
for, is also everything is the impossible, then it kind of like, it eventually got really frustrated in the seeking, the seeking kind of like neurosis started to drop away. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, well, there's nothing I
Mm.
can do anyway. It's almost surrendered, right? It's kind of like,
Yeah. Mm.
although it did not choose that, it's just what's happening. It got
Mm.
really frustrated and it started purging what it was. It could not stand at some point listening to this communication at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
because it was just kind of like it was almost like a chalk on the board. You know what I'm saying? Because
No. No, I don't. A choke.
a chalk, when
Oh
there's
yes,
like,
you know. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
it
Okay,
just
I
it
understand.
at one point it became that way. It was just unbearable, and so
Mm.
it just started DJing. It just started DJing. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And then
Yeah.
afterwards, though, and after the DJing, there was just this seeing that there was just this noticing that what, and then this is just a story that
Mm.
ever since that this character was a child, it always went to DJing or doing some music because it
Yeah.
always intuitively knows that no one's doing it.
Yeah. Mm.
It's kind of like, when someone plays sports, when someone, I can play piano for hours and hours and disappear.
Yeah.
I can DJ for hours and hours and hours. There's no one
Mm.
there. So when there was that noticing there, you're like, I sat down and I was like, there's never been anyone here. It's
Mm.
always like this. It's kind of like
Yeah.
someone closed the book, and then all of a
Mm.
sudden they're like, I am not the book. Actually, I'm not even here. So it's the same thing. It's the same
Oh.
thing, right? And it's always been this way, and it saw that this is actually eternity. And it's kind of funny. The next day, it went back into listening to Tony and Jim and Kenneth, and laughed at laughed for a couple of days because he could not believe how what was being said is so simple,
Yeah, well.
so direct.
Mm.
Yeah, someone actually messaged me last week that said that I binged your, there was a falling away or whatever, the belief system was gone, and I could not believe that I listened to you and I can't stop listening. It's like a comedy show now to me. But before, when this apparent character was watching it, always kind of like had this agitation, kind of like trying to kind of like, basically
Yeah.
said, "This is the last speaker that I will listen to. I'm done." And this is,
Right.
and then why did I speak? Why did I choose this speaker? He's really annoying.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
but when there was an apparent, dropping away, just found it like he goes, he's a really good comedian though. He's just a really funny comedy guy.
Mm.
This is what it is. It's just comedic expression of something that's really simple.
Yeah, that's another very annoying stuff to hear, that
It
it's very
is.
simple.
It
It's so
is. Yeah,
simple.
yeah.
I mean,
So annoying.
so if it is so simple, I must be very, very stupid for not seeing it. You know what I mean? I'm joking, of course, but
Yeah, but it's the simplicity is not in the intelligence. It's not in the
no.
knowing. It's
No,
actually it's kind of funny, and this is just a story. It's almost like the less that is known about this, the easier it is. Because
Yeah.
it's very simple. So when I was talking to a friend that's never heard about this,
Yeah.
never ever heard, he was just really curious. And like, what did you
Mm.
do, Emerson? Like, I'm doing non-duality. He goes, what's non-duality? I'm like, you don't want to hear it. It's something that's really strange. And he goes, no, I'm really interested. I'm like, are you sure? So after maybe just a couple of hours, done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
done. And then we talk. We don't really talk much about it now, but we just enjoy walking around and just hanging out.
Mm.
It just is. So
Yeah.
that person has never heard of non-duality. Has never heard of spirituality. Is kind of like a relapse, kind of like, or an expired Catholic. You know what I'm saying? We went to Catholic school together.
Yeah.
But this communication was never heard before. But it seemed very obvious in its simplicity. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Message me again soon, okay? We'll chat again
Yeah,
soon.
I will.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, Casey.
Hey, Emerson, can you hear me all right?
I can, yeah.
I always ask that. I just discovered. Hey, so something I was curious about. Like 2 days ago, I was watching one of these sessions, and you what was it? Oh, you started talking about a book you were writing,
Yes.
and there was like a poem in the beginning.
Yes.
Really, really beautiful poem.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So you said, one thing you said was, as you were kind of like flowing, you said that there's like as soon as this is seen, it's immediately rejected.
Yes. Yeah. It's
Could you
always
talk
seen.
more about that?
Yeah, it's always, everything is, so it's always seen that this is it. But what is it is always rejected. So everything is kind of like, everything is presented, this is perfection already. So the seeker rejects this perfection because it wants a different kind of perfection. It wants a different version of it. It wants its idea of what perfection should be. Although this is already paradise, the seeker doesn't see it as paradise because it thinks it is not. It thinks it is, oh, I'm suffering, so this must not be paradise, or I'm frustrated, whatever is happening. But they don't see that everything is an empty canvas where paradise appears as whatever. where nothing appears as frustration or confusion or whatever. Everything is emptiness. And in everything that is empty, whatever arises is rejected by the illusion that thinks that this is not it. Because
Yeah.
what's being presented is always whole and complete. It's always perfect. This is always perfect. So the illusion of separation, to maintain its separateness, rejects wholeness. Because if it's
Yeah.
seen that it's whole, then it's not separate, meaning that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So it desires its own absence, but is afraid of accepting its own absence by accepting what's being presented.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
It is. It is. It's kind of like, here
Yeah.
it is. Nope. No, I don't want
Nope.
that. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here
So
it
I
is.
felt I should just be like all the quote unquote non-discoveries I have are always when I'm just drinking. So I'm just gonna call this like non-duality happy hour or something. But anyways, I was just like, I don't know what you're talking about rejects it, but I do feel this thing in me that, or something that does immediately reject something. And I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. And so I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me try to like step back or something a little bit and just see what's being rejected here. Who is rejecting and what's being rejected? And that was it. It was like immediately when it's seen.
So it's also nothing
After-
rejecting nothing, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, right. After a
Yeah.
pint.
Yeah. There you go.
Seeing that, like, oh fuck. No, yeah, sorry. Everyone's way off. This is way more simple.
It is way more simple.
Yeah, and that's immediately rejected because it's like, no, it
Yeah.
can't be this. It can't be
Yeah.
that simple. I am not experiencing that anger, boom, frustration.
Yeah.
But that's also it. It's kind of like a mother, maybe. This is all story mode, but maybe like a mother, like,
Yeah. So
you're being-
the
letting out all the
frustration
frustration or something.
is
Yeah.
also it. It's also
All
this.
it.
It's also nothing. So nothing is rejecting nothing. It's always nothing.
So rude. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
End of story.
End of story. There you go.
That's really cool. Yeah. Because anyway, that in my story at least, or whatever that means, that resonated a lot. That because every day I have that, or I don't have it, but every day I see this rejection of something,
Yeah.
and it's me rejecting naturally, but I'm not doing that. It's just kind of naturally, fuck that. No,
Yeah.
let's
So
listen to something I hate.
yeah. So
Right.
nothing can reject. Nothing accepts everything, including the rejection of nothing.
Yeah, and that's not enjoyable to hear a lot of times.
No. No.
At least that's my experience. Yeah, okay. I appreciate it. I'm Emerson. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Casey.
Yeah. Oh, hey, sorry, I had another question I remembered.
Yeah. No worries. Please go ahead.
So part of what arises here after kind of this loosening is like really scary. It's like it's definitely belief system based, but it's like there's like rebellion and stuff. There's stuff where it's like, is that who I really am? Why would I think
there's no
something like
you
that?
really you. There's no who you are really.
Yeah.
That's just the suggestion or the assumption that that's you,
Yeah.
right? So that's just gas or hiccup. It's just emotions. It's just a collection
Right,
of thoughts. It's really
Yeah.
nothing. It's really nothing. Appearing as rejection or whatever that seems to appear is always it. It's always this. It's never been
Yeah.
not this, right? So the rejector will basically say, well, how can it be when it doesn't feel like this is it? So even rejector is also it. It's appearing simultaneously with this. It's always unconditional love that accepts everything, including the
yeah.
rejection of unconditional love, because it can't help but accept everything because it's unconditional.
Everything, yeah. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what it is,
Yeah.
In
Love,
the eyes of what's that? Go for
it's
it.
just love loving itself unconditionally. So whatever appears, it loves unconditionally. Yeah. And that cannot be understood because unconditionality is
Is
impossible.
yeah. From a math perspective, you can start introducing infinity and like calculus and stuff
Yeah.
as a concept. And
Yeah.
I was like, no. This is where I stopped liking math.
Yeah.
What do you mean we can't use infinity and
Yeah,
math
you
equations?
can also that everything is just an infinite expression of an infinity,
Yeah,
including the rejection of infinity is also infinitely expressing as whatever.
yeah. Cool.
No need
Thanks.
for calculators. It's
Oh,
just all
I'm so
infinite.
happy. I just play games on the TI calculator in school.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I'm happy
All
that you're
right.
happy. Thank you, Casey.
Thanks, Emerson. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, everyone. This has been such an epic nothing. Um, there's another session after this. There's an hour break. There'll be a breakout room, and I will see you all in about an hour. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Emerson.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Emerson.
Bye.
You're the
Happy break.
best.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The picture. Don't forget the dog picture.
I won't forget the picture when I come back in an hour.
Okay.
All right.
You better not.